Hello again, I'm Doug Smith, and welcome to the 15 December 2017 edition of Portsmouth This Week, the voice of Portsmouth Town Hall. Our guests today are Ray Antaya, the town's recycling coordinator. Welcome back, Ray.
Thank you, Doug.
And I've got two folks from WasteZero, which is going to be managing our pay-as-you-throw system. Kristen Brown, Vice President for Municipal Partnerships, and Courtney Forrester, the Program Manager. Welcome you both to the show.
Thank you.
Let me talk first, Ray, a little bit about how we do trash disposal here, because you know, the town decided to maintain the transfer station, but some residents, at least for the short term, but some residents have also looked into, in fact, a survey was done, and the majority of people were opting for, you know, curbside pickup. So a splinter group has kind of gone off and tried to work that as well. How is that going to affect our sticker fees? If we, you know, it seems to me the less people that get stickers, the price is going to have to go up or something.
Well, one of the misconceptions about the survey was that the town initiated that survey to find out what the primary interests of the city residents were, and they came back fairly close, a slight edge to the curbside. But when you look at the weighted averages, it was a minimal amount. And so with that information, we sent out the RFPs for both services. Yeah. They came back, and the council decided in the long run to make it to go with the transfer station. Now, we estimate that we're going to lose some people, some households. Last year we had 4,000 households, and anytime we have about a 5% increase in the cost of the sticker, we tend to lose, you know, about a 5% loss in households. But right now, because of the fee has actually gone down from $160 to $140, we don't anticipate that we're going to lose a lot, but we did base that price, that cost of $140 on 3,500 households. Okay. So we've reduced that by 500 households, and we think we probably may even get more than the 3,500 now. You know,
and as a resident, there are good reasons for wanting to keep the transfer station.
Right.
I guess we just see it's kind of a step-by-step process here over the next couple of years to see how it works out. Talk about the transfer station itself. Will that be set up any differently next year, or?
No, the transfer station is going to stay essentially the same. We have, under the new contract with J.R. Venabro, we have contracted to have a third individual inside the building to assist residents as they come through and to monitor, you know, to make sure and to manage the station better, to try to minimize the abuse that's there. But as far as driving into the station, that should be essentially the same. The guards will be on alert for the pay-as-you-throw bags, as will the person on the interior of the station. The biggest change, I would think, is that no longer will trailers be accepted at the transfer station. Primarily the reason for that is they cause a lot of damage to the building itself. We just had another trailer come through about 2 months back, and it cost the town, the damage to the building, I'm sorry, was over $5,000. So, yeah. And it has happened in the past. So we decided, or the town decided, to not go with trailers. But essentially, that's really the biggest change.
Okay, so still a bit. You go to the left to go in for the trash disposal. Correct. And recycling?
And recycling. Both of those bins are inside the building, and there's an assortment of diversion bins that are outside.
Right, outside. So you go to the right for those.
And that's a tremendous opportunity for those people who do use the transfer station. For the most part, that's free of charge.
Yeah. I notice our recycling rate has gone up a bit from the 20s, low 20s.
Right.
Which is great. There are some new rules, though, about using the transfer station. Can you just hit the highlights on those?
Well, some of the new rules will be that you'll have to have the pay-as-you-throw bags. No trash, other than the orange pay-as-you-throw bag with the town logo on it, will be accepted into the trash pit. Okay. And so residents are going to have to become used to that, but there'll be someone inside to monitor and assist them. Recycling is free. The same pit is there. You can take as many of your recyclables as you want and put them into the single stream bin that we have at the transfer station. But the biggest change is going to be going to the pay-as-you-throw bags.
Yeah. I think it's important for people, if they get a chance, whenever you get this up on the website, those transfer station rules, I think people should take a look at those, because it's very clear that the transfer station is for residential household waste only, no commercial.
That's correct.
waste.
We have had abuse in the past with, commercial haulers, if you will. Not the haulers so much, but commercial enterprises coming in with larger loads of C&D.
Yeah.
And they have definitely been alerted to the fact to keep an eye out for that.
Okay, you want to talk about the C&D debris issue a little bit? Some of those rules have changed too, I think.
Well, the rules are essentially the same, where the C&D diversion bin is set up for residents only, and it's supposed to be for small household renovations. If you have a 32-gallon barrel full or a small trunk full, that's small amount. You're allowed to do that once a day, not to bring in a pickup truck full of C&D. And if you do, the guards and the people working inside are going to say to you, well, look, you have to go up to town hall, and there's a $75 fee for that drop-off, and that's only once a day. Other than that, it's open to residents, ABC, same asphalt, brick, and concrete. There's a bin for that they can drop off as well.
I noticed too, you emphasized that recycling is required by the law.
Yes.
And it will be enforced. I guess my question is, how are you going to enforce that?
Well, there's having the bright orange bags.
Well, having to pay for the bags is a big reason.
is a great way to be able to have eyes on and to notice that, only those bags are going into the trash. Now, as far as recycling, if you have to pay for the bag at $2, say for the large bag, and it's only for the trash, well, you're going to monitor yourself in making sure that most of the recyclables get out of that bag, because you can throw those away for free.
Absolutely.
So, and then all that's left is should be the trash, the household trash for disposal.
Yeah.
And that should be the only thing should have to, and avid recyclers, single people, elderly, who don't use a lot of trash, who don't go through a lot of trash, or who recycle quite a bit, will show that their costs are
minimal.
I
think that's more fair too.
It's a very equitable
You basically
system.
pay for how much trash you throw away.
Correct.
I think the one thing that struck me though in reading the new rules was that you have these rules and they're going to be enforced. And I think that's the key thing for people to know. You're not just going to get a wave and a smile, well, I'll come back and do it next time.
No, I worked at the station for about 6 Saturdays in a row when we first set up the single stream, and I would see the same abusers, if you will, come through with a truckload of black garbage bags. And one person said to me, well, I have a lot of grandkids, and they're probably picking up for the neighborhood.
Yeah, right.
Well, now, if somebody comes through and they have 10 or 15 large orange bags, well, we don't think that individual is going to be paying $20 to $30 by himself on a weekly basis.
Yeah. So
we will be able to monitor that, and we will transfer that information out to the appropriate person.
Now, what kind of penalties are there in this rule? Like first, the warning, perhaps?
You'll probably give a warning. We're not looking to beat anybody over the head with this. To give them a warning, but if they abuse it, they can lose their privileges.
Lose their sticker privileges.
Sticker privileges, right.
Okay. If we hadn't made some of these changes that we're going to be talking about here, we would have been looking at a sticker price of over $300.
Correct.
So how was it you guys were able to wind this down to $140? I'm sure a lot has to do with WasteZero, and we'll hear about that in a minute.
I mean, many of the fees had almost doubled from our previous contract. The previous J.R. Vinagro contract was around $135,000, and it jumped up over $300,000, and they were the lowest bidder. So our total operating budget went from a little over $600,000 to over $1 million, almost $1.2 million.
So it almost doubled.
And so yes, it's almost a doubling of the cost, and so we were looking at a doubling of the fees. But from that, with the ability of pay-as-you-throw to implement and supplement, to fund the enterprise fund, we're able to reduce that to. We had an initial status quo of about $180, a sticker fee from the $160. But at one of the recent council meetings, they decided to take Prudence Island out of the enterprise fund and put them back into the general fund, which allowed it to go even lower from $180 to
Okay, so what does that mean for people on Prudence Island?
Prudence Island, there's no change for those people. They're still going to be buying the pay-as-you-throw bags just like we are, and their sticker fee will be the same, the $140.
Okay, so what is it that's coming out of the general fund for Prudence?
The operating expenses to manage the Prudence Island
to move it off
transfer
island
station,
and do all
hauling fees, tipping fees,
Yeah.
and the company Lawrence Waste that operates it.
That's a nice Christmas present for Prudence Island?
They have an excellent opportunity over there to continue with the recycling like they have.
You know, the town council decided to go with a pay-as-you-throw program, and these new rules will start to come in effect on 1 February. So I wonder if I could spin over to Kristen and Courtney, and can you tell us how a pay-as-you-throw program works, and you know, what the advantages are for the town?
Basically, I think the biggest advantage for the town is, as Ray mentioned, the cost of trash was going up, both the cost of disposal and the cost of managing the trash over doubling. And in order to tackle that, pay-as-you-throw creates the ability to create a two-tiered fee. So you have the lower fee, that $140 fee, that covers the primary fixed costs of running the transfer station. And then the second fee is within the bag. So the bag itself covers the cost not just of the bag, but of disposal and transport of the contents that you put inside of the bag. That way, when you have a user that has a lot of grandkids, like the gentleman you were talking about, if he chooses to use the bag, then he is paying for the portion that he's throwing away. And that cost is not shifted onto a person who's a single person or a family that recycles really well and is only using, you know, a little bit of that trash. He's actually paying for the portion he's disposing of. So it makes the system much more fair. Yeah.
Now, how and where do people get the bags eventually here? It obviously have to be done in January because it starts in 1 February.
Yes, correct. I mean, I have sent out a list of retailers to Courtney and Kristen, and they are in touch with the contacts of those retailers. And to see
Clements Market for sure.
Clements will be on board. As to the others, they'll be in contact, and we'll know fairly soon.
Yep, we're sending out a letter to the retailers. Now that we have a letter approved just to introduce the concept. We have about 15 or so stores that we're inviting to participate. Other retailers can jump on board at any time. And probably about mid-January, we'll have an official list, early January, a list of where they'll be sold, and then by mid to late January, the stores will be stocked. And residents will be able to buy the bags just like they currently buy their generic trash bags at their regular grocery stores, at hardware, local convenience stores. And as the program goes on, if there's a retailer, whether it's in town or outside, if they're interested in having it participate, they can contact the town and we can get them set up if there's interest. So we're happy to incorporate that. And I think we'll also have some neighboring towns, because Middletown that currently participates, some of those retailers will also be selling bags for residents who shop outside of town lines as well.
Now, Middletown, I believe, has a pay-as-you-throw.
Correct.
Does Newport yet, or do we know that?
Newport does not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these bags, what sizes are they and what are they going to cost?
Sure. So we have
three sizes. Picture. There's actually 3 sizes, but we've got 2 of them up there. So the large bag, which is your 33-gallon trash bag, which lines that container maybe that you keep in your garage, is going to be $2. And the tall kitchen size bag, which inside your kitchen, is going to be $1.25, and then there's going to be a smaller bag, an 8-gallon bag, for those who don't use much trash at all, and that one's going to be priced at 80 cents.
They sold in sleeves, so the large will be 5 bags in a sleeve, so $10 total. The kitchen tall bag also $10, but 8 of them inside, and the sleeve. And the mini, there are 10 for $8.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 10 for 10. I thought they were $1 a piece, so that's even better.
The mini, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, people don't need those bags for recyclables.
Correct.
Right? It's just trash that you're trying
Right,
to...
no change to the recycling program. So obviously residents have an opportunity to continue their single stream recycling and all the other options through Rhode Island Resource Recovery in the town. So it's really a great opportunity to really look inside the bag and see what's recyclable. We find that the EPA says about 75% of a household's trash is recyclable. So we think it's pretty easy for a household to do at least 50.
Yeah, really?
Really, if there's 75 in there, you can probably do at least 50. Because again, once you're paying for what's inside that bag, you'll get those shampoo bottles out. You'll get that junk mail. It won't just be that soup can and that cardboard box. You'll actually think about other things throughout the house.
Yeah.
And think about things that are on a regular basis, like your textiles and maybe your electronics and other materials that you have that are on a daily basis. Yeah, exactly. There's donation and recycling opportunities for those streams as well.
Yeah, well, I think having to buy the bags is going to focus people on trying to do this.
And what's interesting is most households throughout the U.S. that are on a pay-as-you-throw type program only use 1 bag a week. So you really do throw away so much less than you currently do. You just think twice every time you put something in the bag. In prior jobs, I've worked with a consulting company where we did some exit interviews in a community called Natick, Massachusetts. We were talking to residents that were purchasing bags in the grocery store just to get a feel for what do they think about the program. And the one thing that everyone says immediately is, I only use 1 bag a week. So they're so proud that they've totally, changed their behavior.
Which is good for everybody, the environment.
Right. Absolutely.
Exactly. And then the overall cost of running the station starts to come down because you're managing less material.
Yeah. I know WasteZero, you have a great website, by the way. I've played around with it.
Thank you.
And you guys are all over the country, literally. I know, Kristen, you came up from South Carolina in the past week or so.
Yeah.
How has this been received generally, across the country?
Well, there are thousands of communities that have pay-as-you-throw programs in the U.S. There are also countries. The entire country of Belgium does this, Switzerland, so it's really all over the world. It's not anything that's new. It's just going to be new to Portsmouth. But what's cool about it is, and I do have a chart of some other transfer stations that have recently started the program. What happens is, because people are now thinking about everything that they put in that bag, because they have that little pinch, they're paying a little bit every week, the trash drops basically in half. So if you look at these different communities around these are mostly from Massachusetts. I think this is Sandwich, Massachusetts, Hanson, Massachusetts, Middletown, Rhode Island. So you can see here in Middletown, this is when they started. So this was their recycling, and this was their trash, and basically the two come together when the program starts, and the trash drops immediately. As I go through programs, I've probably worked on 180 program implementations, and every single program you could lay their statistics right on top of this. So you really literally will cut your trash almost in half.
It is. Pretty much average is a 44% reduction, and those again are the blue bars, just visually from behind. Even the blue bar is the trash, either annually or monthly, and basically the next month you'll see that drop. I mean, Hanson is a 64% drop in the first month. It doesn't take too much time to ramp up. You'll probably see more savings second month where people get on board with and understand. But right away, it's that pinch right away, and you see it pretty instantaneously, and it continues. It doesn't go away. I think the first one is a year, so you'll see multiple years that it's down,
right?
Not just by month.
Right. Yeah, it starts the first month, and then once you do it, it's consistent. It's consistent forever. Yeah. I wanted to just show you quickly. This is Portsmouth, so you're about 800 pounds per capita based on your current disposal. That's about average. So in Connecticut, where I do a lot of work, the average is 795 pounds per capita, so you're right in that average. So that's you. And then just to give you some perspective, the green one is Middletown. So you can see Middletown per capita throws away half as much trash as Portsmouth. Yeah. So you'll probably get right into that same region.
Who would have thought trash would be such an exciting topic to talk about? But I think this is great, and it makes a lot of sense going forward. Are there any typical problems that you've seen in implementing this across the country?
Usually just the questions and people getting on board. So that's why doing a program like this, and we're helping to develop a website for Portsmouth, so we'll have the details of where to buy the bags, links to both the towns and the Rhode Island Resource Recovery's recycling, so if folks are like, what do I do with those textiles, and I have some furniture, they can look into that, and it's kind of all in one place. So usually it's just the education ramp up and the questions that residents have. But with the transfer station, because you're able to see the residents right there at the point, it's something that's a little bit even less confusing than a curbside where it's hard to reach everybody by mail. Here, that first week, if someone comes with a black or white bag, you can right away say, oh, you need the orange bags, and give them the information right there. But they'll see everybody. The great thing about a transfer station is they'll see everybody also doing that, and they want to be consistent. They want to be part of the town's norm. So they'll see, oh, we do the orange bags here, and that's what it'll become, just status quo very, very soon.
It's typically just the anxiety of change, because it's different. So it's the weeks leading up to the program, and the week after, and generally you find that people really like it, they embrace it, especially when they realize that what they're doing really did work. They don't want to do something that's not going to work, but once you show them that what they're doing is working, most people really like it.
And I will have some workshops. The town's going to have a workshop at the Senior Center on January 10th.
Okay.
at 10:30, and then on January 17th at 6:30 at night at Town Hall. If anyone has questions about
These are
page-a-throw.
to discuss all these.
To discuss the bags and
Yeah.
page-a-throw and sticker fees, if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, one of the things that we've run into here a lot is trying to get the word out to everybody. It's impossible. You'd think the internet, everybody is not on the internet.
Or at the right page.
or cares about that stuff. Or a lot of people don't have cell phones. A lot of people don't have emails. So it's almost, and a lot of people don't get newspapers anymore, which is depressing. It's just really hard to get the word out. So I think those workshops will be helpful.
A number of venues, the swing signs to just let passerbys know that we're going to have page-a-throw, and when these press releases, like speaking with you now, and letting people know.
Well, that's what I mean. This is part of that process, I think. One of the things that I've always had a problem with recycling is that you never know, or at least it's hard to tell what you can recycle. You've heard all about you can do this, you can't do that. So I'm thinking, for example, Christmas time, right? Everybody gets these toys for kids, and they got all this hard plasticky stuff.
Yeah.
Is that recyclable?
It can generally be donated, so most things are in some working order, and you'll find that your
The packaging you're
Goodwills
referring to.
The packaging,
Yeah,
the
but-
rigid
Yeah, that's
plastics. Yeah.
Believe me, I got plenty of grandkids that will.
Well, some of
Take
the,
care of
it.
the cardboard boxes is an issue, and they need to break those down. A lot of big TVs are coming down for Christmas time, and there's other boxes that should be broken down with this. It just takes up too much space. But the styrofoam that's in those boxes, that's not recyclable. Even if it has a recycle stamp on it, that has to go into the trash. So instead of just throwing the box in.
That's what's hard, I think.
Yeah, it's understanding some of the smaller details. But definitely the styrofoam.
Yeah.
As far as Christmas things, you've got the lights, the Christmas lights, those go into trash. The, what else? The paper and the tissue paper from the wrappings, that can go into recycling.
And the paper that you wrap the presents with.
Sure.
That can go into
That's
recycling,
recycling.
yes.
Okay.
The biggest things are paper and cardboard, bottles and cans. Those are the big things. Because if you start getting too much, the plant can't handle these little tiny things that materials recovery facility where recycling is processed. It's a big assembly line. And if you have too many little things, it can contaminate that. So the biggest things, and that's mostly what our household waste is, bottles and cans, plastic containers, glass, metal containers, paper and cardboard. Those are the big important things to remember. And then of course if you have special waste like textiles and furniture, which again are not every day, again the town and the state recycling center does have some options for that. But paper and cardboard, bottles and cans are the biggest things to remember. And keep out the tangles, keep out the plastic bags.
Absolutely.
And no
That's one
food
of the
waste in
biggest
your
things.
recycling.
I was just at a meeting, the quarterly meeting up in Johnson with the Rhode Island Resource, and that is, plastic bags is their number one.
You're talking about the kind you get when you go to the grocery
Any kind of
They have
plastic
to go
bag.
into
or any kind of
trash.
film.
I mean,
Now we're trying to put a ban on those, right?
there has been a ban in Middletown, I believe Newport,
We're working on one in Portsmouth
and
to
Portsmouth's
do that
in
too.
discussion as to remove them. But if you have them, there's a restore box, they call it a recycling program, at Clements. It's a blue box. You can take those plastic grocery bags and bring them back. If they're not totally, very dirty, you can put them in the restore. Other than that, they have to go into the trash. Any plastic bag needs to go into the trash.
Grocery stores do accept them, for drop-off, clean
Right.
plastic
Yeah, I
film
think it's
and
the only
overwrap.
the only confusing parts are the ones that are kind of in between. Like I say, that clear plastic packaging. of
Right,
things.
so think just bottle and can or a container. If it's a weird shape,
Okay.
it's probably safe to put in the trash because you don't want to put things in there that might contaminate it because it makes it harder to process, becomes more expensive.
What about broken glass? What do you do with
if
that?
it was from a bottle?
From a bottle.
A bottle
Bottle's
can go
okay.
in, a bottle's recyclable, but a window, no.
Or dishes.
Really?
Right.
It's just a different glass and it heats at different
goes into
temperatures.
trash.
How about like you drop a plate?
Plates are trash items.
That should go into
Same
trash.
as glassware, it'd be a trash item. Unless someone an artist who does mosaics.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So it continues to be a little bit confusing. You just have to think it through, right?
Well, one of the good things about the pay-as-you-throw program is it's the impetus that encourages people to go to the website and read and see.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good information out there, and you'll be able to get to it through the Portsmouth website.
And in the bags,
and
isn't there
see.
some information
Yeah,
as
and
to
in the bag
recycling
there'll
as
be
well?
an insert that,
Right.
that talks a little bit
Links
about
you to
that
the
as well.
page and information.
But the bag actually gives you that impetus to say, you know what, I'm just going to read the directions and realize, oh, I can recycle the peanut butter jar. But I can't recycle this. It helps you to learn. And once you learn, it becomes second nature, and it's really easy to do. And as Courtney mentioned, a lot of the items that are recyclable are those bulky items that take up the space in the trash bag, like your milk jugs and your,
Correct.
you know,
Laundry detergent.
PET. Yeah, exactly. And those things are all recyclable.
But I have to say I've been guilty of cardboard boxes because I get them and I stack them on inside each other.
Right, and that's going to be very difficult to
And then
compress.
sometimes I end up putting paper, like newspapers and other paper stuff, inside those. I just heave them over the side.
Well, the state, we need this. I mean, at the meeting, again, they emphasized that the landfill is quickly filling up. I mean, 2033, they're looking at having no more capacity.
Now, what will they do? Will they start another landfill? I mean, it sounds like Armageddon or something, you know.
There are alternatives they're looking at, and maybe even shipping it out of state. But right now,
Yeah,
there are limits, and so everything we can do to reduce our footprint of trash, we should try to do.
it's really a difficult situation everywhere in New England, actually everywhere in the country, but in New England in particular, we've had multiple incinerators or waste-to-energy facilities close. Resource recovery, your landfill here in the state, is really the only residential landfill left, at least
Correct.
over the next couple of years. The rest will be gone. So the other material is all being burned or it's being shipped out of state, and as that burn capacity has been reducing, and as resource recovery's landfill capacity reduces, the costs go up, which is what you're seeing here.
Absolutely.
And the reason for, you know, the best reason to move to this program is to nip it in the bud now before the costs just continue to rise and end up being absorbed by everyone.
Absolutely.
Now, how long, what's the longest community that you can think of that has had this program? And how do they feel about it now?
So, you know,
where did you guys start?
Worcester, Massachusetts,
Okay.
Binghamton, New York, those are in the 90s.
1990s.
Really?
Yeah,
That far ago?
a couple even.
20 years ago?
Yeah.
30 almost.
30,
Yeah.
I know.
It's, once you have it, you don't want to go backwards
Right.
because you have cut your
Oh, yeah,
trash in half,
yeah.
and your costs are, you know.
There was a community in Maine that did start pay as you throw, and some internal political factors changed it. And then they said, oh, we've got it down, everyone knows what to do. And then as soon as you take away that slight little marker, it went back up again. So it's the blue little mountain there on the bottom.
yeah, right.
And then they installed it about 2 years later, and it went right back to where
That's
it
your
was.
bad example slide.
Right,
there.
and it's,
It is.
many people
But it's
in
a great
town
example
wanted to
Yeah.
keep it. Yeah,
to
it
see.
shows how
It shows how your trash drops immediately when you have the price signal, but here your trash went back up. It doesn't go up all the way, likely because you did
People
read
learned a
and
little
you
bit.
said,
You do have
oh,
a
I
sense of
can
this, yeah.
recycle my peanut butter jar. You know, I don't have to throw it away. So you've changed your behavior a little, but then it becomes so easy to throw it away because
there's no
it doesn't
motivation.
cost
There's no one
anything.
kind of checking. You know, there's no
Yeah.
police on the street checking your speed, so you might, you know, go
Yeah,
a little
right,
faster.
right. Let me ask you, we only have about a minute left, but I'd like to ask you about your company, WasteZero. Obviously, you guys have been doing this all around the country. And it wasn't, as I mentioned before, it wasn't until I finally went through your website that I figured out where you make the money from. You make the bags. You manufacture the bags. And does the town pay you as a consultant, or how does this work?
So WasteZero does manufacture bags. We also have a separate consulting area. But in your case, because you're using the program, I'll show you this, the way that it works is you're basically paying per bag as the bags go out. So each bag, within each bag, there is the cost of the bag, which is what WasteZero gets to manufacture, distribute, do all the billing and the marketing. So we get paid the cost of the bag, and the rest of the net, which is about $1.70, for instance, in your $2 bag, that goes to you, and that is covering the tip and transport of the weight of the contents within
Okay,
the bag.
unfortunately, we're out of time. I'd like to invite you guys back, though, you know, in several months when we see how this thing's going.
Absolutely.
I'd like to wish all of you guys a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and the same to our viewers out there.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yes, thank
Happy
you.
New Year.
Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you.
Yeah, from the
Happy New
entire producing group here at the PEG Studio, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.